All right, hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to break down one of the most important topics in international marketing, your international product strategy. Getting this right, understanding the choice between standardizing your product or adapting it, isn't just about theory. This is absolutely crucial for your exams and honestly, for succeeding out there in the world of global business. So, let's jump right in.
So this really is the big question, isn't it? Imagine you're the marketing manager for a company that's going global. You have this massive decision to make. Do you take the path of standardization, which means you keep your product exactly the same everywhere to save money and keep your brand strong? Or do you go down the path of adaptation and change your product to fit what people in each specific country actually want? This single choice is going to shape your entire global strategy.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We've structured this logically, just like you'd structure a perfect exam answer. First, we'll define the challenge. Then we'll look at the two main strategies, standardization and adaptation, one by one. After that, we'll put them head to head, see how they stack up. We'll even look at a cool hybrid solution called Glocal. And then we'll wrap it all up with a quick revision summary to make sure all of this sticks in your head. If you follow this structure, you'll be in great shape.
Right, Section 1, the Global Challenge. And look, this isn't just a minor choice. We're talking about the core strategic decision that's going to control your production, your marketing, everything on a global scale. So let's define the two big ideas you absolutely have to master. Here they are, the two sides of the coin. On the left, you've got product standardization. Think of this as the one product, one world philosophy. The idea here is pretty simple. People's tastes around the world are becoming more similar, so we can sell the same thing everywhere and be super efficient. But on the right, you have product adaptation. This is the tailor-made approach. It says, no way, every market is different, and if you want to win, you have to customize. These two concepts are the foundation for everything we're about to cover.
Okay, so let's start our deep dive with that first strategy. Section 2, standardization. We're going to look at the logic behind it, when you should use it, and what the big trade-offs are for this one-product-fits-all approach.
So let's get a really solid definition down. Product standardization simply means you're offering the exact same product everywhere. Same design, same features, same brand. The classic example here, and a great one for your exam, is Apple's iPhone. Right? The phone you buy in Tokyo is pretty much identical to the one you get in New York. Why? Because Apple believes the need for great communication, a great camera, and apps is universal. It doesn't really change with culture. Now, this slide is incredibly important. Seriously, these 5 points are exactly what you need to write down in an exam to explain when to use standardization. So let's walk through them. First, similar consumer preferences. This works when customers everywhere want the same thing. Think about something like a high-end camera. A professional photographer in Brazil wants the same features as one in Germany. Second, economics of scale. This is all about cost. If you make millions of the exact same thing, the cost per item plummets. It's a huge financial advantage. Third, a strong global brand identity. Think about Rolex or Louis Vuitton. The product is the brand. You can't change it because that consistency is what people are paying for. Fourth, technologically advanced products. An Intel processor inside a computer works the same way no matter where you are. You don't need to adapt its core function. And finally, number 5, consistent quality standards. If your whole reputation is built on incredible quality, having one standardized process is the best way to control it. You need to commit these 5 points to memory.
All right, so here's the balance sheet for standardization. For your exam, you have to be able to argue both sides. So on the plus side, the advantages. Do you see a clear theme, right? It's all about efficiency. Lower costs, simpler production, you get into markets faster, and you have a really clear brand image. But, and this is a big but, look at the disadvantages. These are the risks. You might completely ignore important cultural differences and annoy your customers. Your product might not get accepted in the market. And a really big one, you might accidentally break local laws or regulations, which is a recipe for disaster.
So, we've thoroughly covered standardization. Now let's flip the coin and look at its total opposite. Section 3, product adaptation. With this strategy, we stop focusing on global efficiency and start focusing on local effectiveness. We're going to embrace the differences between markets instead of trying to ignore them. So what is product adaptation? The formal definition is simply modifying a product to fit the local market. The perfect example, and you should definitely use this one in your exams, is McDonald's. Think about it. The golden arches look the same everywhere. That part is standardized. But the menu? That's adapted. In India, where many people don't eat beef, you can get the Makalu Tikki burger, which is made with a potato patty. In Japan, you can get a teriyaki McBurger. It's a brilliant example of adapting the core product to what local people actually like to eat.
Okay, just like with standardization, you absolutely must memorize these 5 reasons for when to use adaptation. These are your justification points for an exam. First, cultural differences. This is the big one. Tastes, colors, how people use products, it all varies. Think about food or clothes. Second, differences in climate. A car sold in a freezing cold place like Siberia needs a super powerful heater, right? That same feature is totally useless in Saudi Arabia. Third, legal requirements. This one isn't optional, it's mandatory adaptation. Countries have different rules for safety, for labels, for what ingredients are allowed. If you don't comply, you can't sell there. Simple as that. Fourth, differences in income levels. In some markets, people may not be able to afford a big bottle of shampoo, so companies adapt by selling it in small, single-use packets. And finally, infrastructure differences. If a country has unreliable electricity, a refrigerator might need better insulation to keep food cold during power outages. So there you have it, your 5-point checklist for when to adapt.
Now let's look at the trade-offs for adaptation. And as you'll see, the advantages here are basically the solution to all the problems with standardization. You get higher customer satisfaction, way better market acceptance, and you're guaranteed to be compliant with local laws. It can give you a real competitive edge. But look at the disadvantages. They are the exact opposite of standardization's benefits. Costs for production and R&D go way up. Managing all these different product versions gets super complicated, and trying to maintain one consistent global brand image becomes a real headache.
So, we've looked at both strategies on their own. Now in Section 4, it's time for the head-to-head analysis. This kind of direct comparison is exactly what you'll need for those tougher, higher-mark exam questions.
This table is your ultimate revision tool. Seriously, for any comparison question, this is your guide. Let's just run through it. First, cost. Standardization wins, hands down. It's just cheaper. Market acceptance. Adaptation is the clear winner because it's custom-made. Brand image. Standardization gives you that powerful, consistent global image. Speed to market. Well, it's always faster to roll out one product than 20, so standardization wins again. And finally, flexibility. Adaptation, by its very nature, is more flexible to local needs. If you can understand this table, you've mastered the core trade-offs.
So after all that, you might be thinking, do you have to pick one extreme or the other? Well, the modern answer is actually no. Section 5 introduces a much smarter, more sophisticated strategy that's emerged. It's called the Global Solution, and it's all about getting the best of both worlds.
This global strategy, it's a mix of global and local, is all about blending the two approaches in a really smart way. Let's look at these examples. Take technology, like a laptop. The core hardware, the processor, the memory, that's all standardized globally to keep costs way down. That's the standardization. But the keyboard layout, the language of the operating system, that's adapted for each country. Or think about cars. A company like Volkswagen will use a standardized global platform, the basic frame of the car, to save billions. But they'll adapt the engine for the type of fuel available locally and add different safety features to meet local laws. This brings us to the key principle of the global strategy, and you should write this down. Standardize the core, adapt the periphery.
Okay, we have covered all the core concepts. So this final section is your high-speed exam revision summary. We are going to boil down everything we've talked about into the most critical, bite-sized points for you to memorize.
Revision Point 1. Standardization. What's the core idea? One product, one world. What are the key advantages? Think cost, consistency, and speed. And when is it best? For tech products and strong global brands that are selling into similar markets. Got it? Good.
Revision Point 2, Adaptation. What's its core idea? Tailor-made for each market. The key advantages? Market acceptance, customer satisfaction, and legal compliance. And it's best for companies dealing with diverse cultures, different income levels, and strict legal rules.
And finally, if you remember absolutely nothing else from our time together today, remember this sentence. This is your ultimate memory aid. Standardization equals efficiency and consistency. Adaptation equals acceptance and satisfaction. Burn that into your brain.
So I'll leave you with a final thought, a strategic question to chew on. As our world gets more connected through technology, but at the same time our cultures remain proudly diverse, which of these two powerful forces will win out? Will it be the push for standardized efficiency or the pull of adapted relevance? The answer to that question is what you, as the future leaders of international marketing, will have to figure out. Thank you and the best of luck with your exams.